Next on the show, a meeting of two of the Championship's form teams. Portsmouth were looking to extend their 7-match unbeaten run when they travelled to Derby, who themselves had won their last 4 at home. Commentary comes from Dan O'Hagan.
In by Robbie Savage, great ball for Shefki Kuchi, McQuainer half away. Blocked away from Barker on the turn. McQuainer clear. Here's Commons. And the free kick given against Hayden Mullins here, in what is a fine position for a striker goal for Derby. Who've made a very strong and front foot start here, the home team. Mullins on Chris Commons, a free kick inside of 3 minutes here, which will give Derby their first chance to strike a goal. It's Robbie Savage, turned away by Ashdown with a decent save. Well, Savage's free kick forced the game's first save. Out of harm's way from Jamie Ashdown. This is Green for Derby County, pulled across goal, and Commons foiled by a great save by Ashdown. Well, Chris Commons denied by Ashdown, who pulls off one of the saves so far, I would say, of the Championship season. Made by Green here, and this is a finer save as you will ever see. Point blank, super block. This is James Bailey, whose pass is short. It's forced to John Utaka, and now Pompey can break. Utaka to his left here is Dave Kitson. It's Kitson! It's a good save by Fielding. He says fingertips, and I agree with him. Now, does the keeper save this? I think he does. This is Green for Derby, for Thomas Sifka. Sifka takes on Dickinson. Sifka still, McQuainer's challenge. Derby appeal. Given on the near side here by the assistant referee, Darren Handley. Sifka fouled by McQuainer, seen not by the referee but by the assistant. It was the right call too. Man taken, not ball. Robbie Savage, Derby skipper, to step forward and to score. A goal to underline Derby's strong start today, and given their run of home form here with 4 successive Pride Park wins, maybe on course for another. Bailey. Now Commons, his position here, Chris Commons! Well, from there, Chris Commons is often deadly. Few players in this division have quite an eye from goal from this kind of range that Chris Commons does. Kuchi in for Green here. Paul Green, Sifka with him. Thomas Sifka for Paul Green for 2-0 Derby. Simple as that. Paul Green doubles Derby's money. Kuchi combined here with Green, and then Sifka involved as well. And he made the goal for Green with what was, in truth, from 6 yards, a pretty simple finish. And Derby have daylight. Here's Liam Lawrence for John Utaka, took it well. And now Dave Kitson for Kanu. Kanu's still there. Kanu! What a chance! Well, Kanu hasn't scored since March. Winning against Hull City back in the Premier League, but this was a fine chance. And Pompey saw their way back into the game there. Jamie Ashdown only half clear, really. And the goalkeeper's off his line here. Oh, what an effort and what a save! Ashdown's recovery was exemplary as Chris Commons here almost caught him out. Chris Commons from the centre circle. Denied by a relieved recovering goalkeeper. Would have been absolutely wonderful, this, from Chris Commons, who can produce moments of utter magic. Hits him with a super ball, and here's Dickinson. No, over the bar from the full-back. He was in Akers here, was the man born not far from here. That was a decent effort and a decent late chance.
Delighted. I thought the work rate was absolutely superb this evening, and that's what won us the game, and I'm very, very pleased to keep a clean sheet. We've not kept too many of late, conceded the odd goal, but I thought overall a superb performance and effort.
I think that, you know, in the second half, if we'd have played like that for 90 minutes, yeah, we could have got something out of the game today, but You give credit where credit's due, and Derby were the better team today, and we have to hold our hands up to that.
Sheffield United haven't won at home in the league since mid-September, and their slump is in sharp contrast to Ipswich Town, who seem to be upwardly mobile again. The Blades really seem to miss their skipper, Chris Morgan, who's out with a serious knee injury. Without him, their defence sometimes struggles, as Tamas Priskin discovered after only 6 minutes, the Hungarian with a typical poacher's goal. Priskin proved to be a real handful in a busy first half. Only the post denied him the chance of adding to his tally of 5 goals this season in all competitions. In contrast, the Blades have the bluntest attack in the Championship with only 9 goals. But just before the half-hour mark, they finally made it into double figures. Stephen Quinn with the finish, the Irishman's first goal since March. Manager Gary Speed has said that his players are feeling the pressure of playing at home, and barely 10 minutes later that pressure seemed to tell as Ipswich restored their lead. Gareth Macaulay on hand with his first league goal of the campaign. And that proved to be good enough to propel Ipswich back into the playoff places, although Kyle Bartley did have a go from long range. Bartley out of luck, and that's 3 defeats in a row now for the Blades, who badly need to rediscover their cutting edge.
Out of form Hull looked short of confidence in the early exchanges, but it wasn't until the second half before Scunthorpe managed to carve out a gilt-edged chance. Martin Wolford cut inside and beat Matt Duke in the Hull goal, but couldn't beat the woodwork before the hosts cleared. The Tigers did steadily edge into the game and began to pour forward. Hull player coach Nick Barmby setting up James Harper. How he would have liked to have had that one again. Just as it looked like the points would be shared, Eddie Nolan burst down the left before finding Freddie Sears to pass the ball in. Michael O'Connor made the decisive run and finished coolly, Scunthorpe snatching it at the death.
As if a look at the Championship table isn't bad enough, Bristol City chairman Steve Lansdowne has just announced end-of-year losses totalling nearly £12 million. And judging by the way they started against Preston, the boys in red look like worried about being in the red. The visitors had opened their account inside the first 2 minutes. Sean St Ledger with plenty of space to put in a cross, Big John Parkin making a nuisance of himself, and Barnsley loanee Ian Hume applying the finishing touch, the Canadians' 3rd league goal of the season. Preston manager Darren Ferguson would call this his side's best away performance of the year. All they lacked was a little luck in front of goal. Hume could have had another early in the second half, Keith Tracy teeing him up, but the crossbar denying him as David James could only stand and watch. But there was plenty the former England keeper could do as Parkin bore down on goal. The man affectionately known as the Beast around Deepdale left cursing his luck as James made a wonder save. And those misfortunes were cruelly magnified on 71 minutes as Billy Jones was forced to head into his own net from a Jamie McAllister free kick. And the hosts almost stole it when Albert Adoma's cross-come shot came back off the inside of the post. A point apiece, and City now 4 matches unbeaten, but both are still at the wrong end of the table.
David Healy arrived on loan at Doncaster during the week and went straight into the team against Millwall, whose manager Kenny Jackett was celebrating his 3rd anniversary in charge of the Lions. And he must have been pleased with the start as Millwall struck early at the keep moat. James Henry chased a through ball. His deep cross was guided back by Kevin Lisby, and Steve Morrison was quickest to react as Doncaster's defence stood and watched. Morrison's 6th Championship goal of the season. In the second half, Sean O'Driscoll had clearly managed to fire up his troops, with James Hayter diving to make it 1-1. And barely moments later, the hosts had turned it around. Healy would have dreamt of getting a debut goal and couldn't have been given an easier chance. His conversion earning his new side the lead, which turned out to be decisive.
The Sven effect is certainly being felt in the East Midlands. Since getting the former England boss's signature on a contract, Leicester City have been on an upward curve, and victory at Oakwell would confirm their continuing climb up the Championship table. But their opener on 18 minutes came from an unlikely source. Miguel Vitor getting the faintest of touches to Martin Waghorn's free kick. A first goal in English football for the youngster on loan from Benfica. The visitors were in control throughout and could even afford the luxury of having a goal ruled out. Andy King, the man thwarted by a linesman's flag. Barnsley offered little in the first half, but came alive briefly in the second. Nathan Doyle rattling the crossbar. That was as close as they'd come to a goal. And 5 minutes from time, Leicester wrapped it up when captain for the day, King, popped up at the far post to put away Paul Gallagher's cross. Happy days, but you can always rely on Sven to keep everyone's feet firmly planted on the ground.
So Queen's Park Rangers go back to the top of the Championship ahead of Sunday's South Wales derby between Cardiff and Swansea. Middlesbrough's win against Palace gives them a 3-point lead over the Championship's bottom club. Sheffield United drop one place to 19th. Our goal of the week comes from Lewis McGugan for Nottingham Forest against Watford. The midfielder's 8th goal in 10 games, securing a point for Billy Davis's side. Next week on the show, Reading and Norwich hope to get back to winning ways. And Nottingham Forest are the opponents as Queen's Park Rangers look to keep up their promotion push. See you then.